first time this year, the Browns finally topped 17 points, and they blew past it with a 31-6 dominant victory over the Dolphins. Welcome to the Brownie Points podcast. I'm your host, Noam, and I'm here with my co-host,
Levi.
You're always so good at that, Levi. So good. The Browns jumped out to an early lead. It was close in the first quarter, though, but after that, the Browns pulled further and further away with each successive quarter. They pretty much controlled the whole game. On the back of the defense, as well as many mistakes from the Dolphins, not a huge offensive game, despite all of the points. It was mostly off of picks, which gave them short fields. Plus, there was that pick six where the defense, scored directly. No receiver had more than 40 yards. Gabriel threw for under 120, but Judkins made them pay off with turnovers and a couple wildcat plays, which was pretty fun. A couple big-time runs from Judkins as well, and the Browns walk away with a dominant scoreline, 31-6. A bit of a quirky one, because despite scoring 31 points, which you would think would mean a dominant performance by the offense, it was about as unimpressive of a dominant win as dominant wins go. And I don't want to drag too much, considering, they won and they finally scored points. It's everything we wanted from them. It just wasn't in the way that I was hoping for, especially considering the weather in the first half, which really prevented us from the Browns really pushing it and trying to throw the ball too much. And then by the time we got to the second half, they already had a nice lead, and they were able to slow it down and pull back and call a even more conservative offense anyways. What was your impressions overall from that game? Were you impressed by it? Were you left feeling or wanting more?
Yeah, honestly, not only was he not impressed by the offense, I wasn't actually all that impressed by the defense. I don't think they did anything wrong. It wasn't like they weren't playing well, but it wasn't that I felt, oh, wow, they're dominant. I felt like, oh, wow, the Dolphins are a mess.
That's that. I had a very similar feeling. I mean, the Dolphins gave them a lot of points.
Because even Achane broke off a few big runs.
Yeah, and the Browns, there were a number of drives where the Browns stalled out, but the Dolphins defense bailed them with a penalty, and then they got automatic first down, and they were able to keep going, and then they do the same thing again. The Browns stalled, but then obviously a lot of the interceptions were just really bad throws.
Just bad. Yeah, like it wasn't felt like a great quick pressure or this or that.
To be fair, like one of those, like one where Tua's backed up in the end zone, that I would say was a direct result of the pressure that caused him to throw that.
That's true.
But a better quarterback throws that away and doesn't try and make that completion.
Yeah,
but
it wasn't like.
But overall,
I don't want to say the defense wasn't playing well. It just wasn't like it didn't explode off the page. It just felt like there were just a lot of plays there to be made, and
they just made them.
They made them,
which is weird.
Deserves some credit, but it was just strange. And they didn't rack up 6 or 7 sacks.
Yeah, and
it was 3, and 2 of them were on blitzes.
That's part of what was weird about it. It's not a game where. Like, I'm not going to drag anyone off of that game, but it's hard for me to really put pluses next to a lot of people's names off of that game.
It didn't generate excitement about really any unit at all.
Mostly, I mean, like, the defense obviously played good overall, but
not excited.
But they were excited. But they were gifted a lot. Like, they were gifted a lot by the Dolphins.
Who excited you?
I mean, I think for me, Tyson Campbell, but I was very impressed by his performance. I thought he's been really good since we got him. Greg Newsome, I think, only played like 20 snaps for the Jags, by the way. This past week. I don't know if they're just giving him a slower integration or whatever, but he hasn't even played that much for them. So far, I'm pretty happy with the trade. Yeah. Tyson Campbell, obviously it's really early. We can't, we don't want to jump the gun, but it does feel like Tyson Campbell going to a better scheme fit with the Browns has benefited him a lot. And he's an athletic freak. I mean, catching Achane on that deep run when Achane broke loose, and when Achane breaks loose, it's a touchdown because he's got that speed. But somehow, Tyson Campbell was able to catch him from behind. That was really, really impressive. And he's been really good in man coverage for the Browns. Obviously, the Browns play a ton of man coverage. And he's been really good in man coverage. I'm not going to say that he's been a shutdown, lockdown corner, but there hasn't been many big plays off of him. And the big plays were great plays by the offense rather than mistakes by Tyson Campbell or guys just burning Tyson. So I would say I was impressed by him. I wouldn't say I was too impressed by other units. Like you were saying, that a lot of it was gifted to them by the Dolphins. Even some of the sacks were gifted by the Dolphins just straight up missing assignments and the defenders able to come free. On a lot of those, the blitzes were incredibly successful against Tua. And the Dolphins had no answer. And when I say they had no answer, it was like they didn't even try. Like there was nobody there some of those times on those blitzes. Which is obviously what you hope for, but at the same time, the Dolphins didn't put up much of a fight. And that's kind of what we were expecting, though, coming into the game. But we thought that, the Browns are bad, the Dolphins are bad. It'll be a battle of bad teams, but we'll, give the Browns will have a chance to show something. But really, the Browns just completely dominated them. But a lot of that was, like you were saying, like the Dolphins gifting it to them. So
yeah. Yeah, and Campbell, we'll say also, like, part of that's probably scheme fit. Probably also a little bit of it, because at times they played man, he didn't play so great with the Jags, but, once he got his extension. But part of that might just be, that wake-up call when you get traded. Because he's got the athleticism. Sometimes that wake-up call is like, oh, wow, like, this could really end badly. And
there's no downside for the Browns on Tyson Campbell. If he does turn out to not play that well, the Jags are playing most of his contract.
So
which I don't need.
No downside move.
You have to give Barry credit for that. Throughout his career, for whatever we dragged him for on not hitting that much on drafts outside of this year, his trades have often been pretty shrewd. I felt.
Yeah.
Some
of them worked out better
so
than
far
others.
I
mean, like, we kind of forget about Elijah Moore. That was a little bit of an overpay. He gave a second-round pick for Elijah Moore.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, it's weird because, like, sometimes you're like, wow, that's mind-numbingly stupid. And sometimes you're like, wow, that was, like, really clever.
I mean, Tyson Campbell was looking good. I mean, like I said, we got him, and
we're not
really paying him either, and he's under contract for the next couple of years. So
also the guard, Wyatt Teller, wasn't that was Barry?
Yeah, he was under.
Wyatt Teller was a great trade, and people were not that high on him when he got traded to the Browns. He wasn't a big name. If you remember, he played some for the Bills.
No, I know. He was nothing. No, he was absolutely nothing. I just didn't remember that they traded him. I thought they picked him up.
No, they traded for him from the Bills. I remember that.
Something?
Yeah, it was something low, and it was like, okay, got some nice depth, and then he's come what he's become. But then other times he does stupid things. Like paying Judy as much as he did right away.
Yeah, well, that's not the trade portion, right? When they traded for him, it felt like okay value for the trade. It was when they paid him.
Well, I'm not talking about just trades. I'm talking about, like, in general.
Overall,
his moves, like Conklin re-signing him. You know what I mean? Like the moments where you're like, "What are you doing?" And then other times you're like, "Oh, that's really sneaky and clever," and maybe he's really good. So he kind of gives you this. He's got like a very weird feel to him at times. It's hard to put your finger on it.
He has all the hallmarks of of an okay GM, I feel like, right? Is great moments and not great moments, right?
Yeah, but it's just such a sharp difference sometimes.
Yeah, we'll definitely be talking about him more, especially if the Browns start losing. Just a little side note.
Losing.
The Jags lost, which is good. The Jags start out really hot, but then they're actually flipping it around. I know this is kind of off track, but just something to keep in mind for the draft coming up. One of the things I was most looking forward to coming into this game against the Dolphins was the ability to finally really get to see what Dillon Gabriel could do, because he's a rookie, and obviously he's already played a couple games, but those were some tough teams to play against. Mike Tomlin and the Steelers, not a team you want to play against as a rookie. The Vikings have a really complex, difficult defense to play against as a rookie. I was really looking forward to seeing Dillon play against a bad defense, and basically Dillon having every opportunity to let loose and see, like, hey, are you even capable of delivering a 300-yard game? Are you capable of delivering a 250-yard game with like 2 touchdowns, no picks?
Yeah.
I think what we saw from that game is that he's definitely capable of not delivering picks, which is really important for this offense. But we didn't really get to see it, and I felt like we were robbed of it by the rain because, like we said, it was raining a lot the first half, so they were really conservative with the play calling. And in the second half, they already had their lead, so they got conservative with the play calling just by design of the game, of how the game flowed, which made sense to me. But
one thing, by the way, I want to point out,
really felt like I got to grade him that well. Yeah.
I'm sorry, but just when we're talking about conservative nature of fantasy play calling, if you think about it, this is like almost kind of in a way the first rookie he's ever had, because technically he had DTR, but like
but he didn't draft Baker either.
No, but he wasn't a rookie. I'm saying I'm saying Baker had already played for several years,
right? And he didn't draft Baker,
right?
Anyway,
He didn't come in there, right? Then it was Brissett. Then you had some DTR occasionally, but even then he wasn't like a rookie.
DTR was not a guy that they picked up that they were like, oh, we're really hot.
Yeah, like he was a 5th round pick. He was like, maybe he'll be a backup.
There was some stupid preseason buzz, but that wasn't real.
And honestly, it wasn't too aggressive as play calling, but we didn't think about it because it's just like whatever DTR. And that was really it, right? Like, so he's never in the end, Flacco for whatever. The point is, and he had Deshaun Watson. None of these guys are rookies or really close to it.
Yeah.
This is the first time. So, like, what we might be dealing with is Stefanski just feeling like whenever he has a rookie out there, he tends to lean on the really conservative side of things because he gets nervous of dealing with a rookie as opposed to a veteran.
Yeah.
It might just be his nature. Like, there's some things we haven't.
They threw 52 times last week, but they had such an about face, right? I mean, they threw 52 passes last week, and this week threw, 18?
But even then, those throws didn't feel aggressive.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, I do know what you mean. He threw a lot of times, but none of those play calls were like dialing up 25-yard, 30-yard shots.
Yeah, he's willing to pass with them, but even then, like, it's going to be like 3 yards.
Yeah, you do wonder if the reins will start to be pulled back over time. But that's part of what impacted my grade on Dillon Gabriel a lot, and I want to get your grade after this. For me, I gave Dillon a C because I felt like he did what he was asked to do, and he didn't take anything away, which is really important. For this defense, again, the idea is the defense keeps it close. You don't turn the ball over, and you give yourself a chance to win at the end, and you hope you can pull off like 60% of those wins, and you have a winning season. But we didn't really get that, and that was really disappointing for me. but I felt like Dillon Gabriel did what he was asked to do at the same time. That wasn't very spectacular. He had a couple missed reads, but, a lot of quarterbacks have missed reads every once in a while. You can't see everybody all of the time. Especially as an outsider, it's difficult to know exactly what his progressions are. Like, that guy might have been his fourth read or something like that. We don't know what the direction from the team was. But there were a couple plays where, at least as the viewer, as a fan, it felt like he held on to a little bit more. So for that, I do take away a little bit. But my grade overall on him is a C. What's your grade on Dillon?
So mine's a B minus. I'm giving him a little bit of a bump.
That might be one of the highest grades out of in Cleveland, by the way.
Yeah, I understand that. But I'm giving him a bit of a bump. I thought he, didn't make the mistakes I saw him make in previous weeks. I did think, again, like I wanted to be a little generous because I felt like his adjusted completion percentage was 78%. I felt like he was really completing a lot of balls, which deserves some credit. Like, sometimes it gets a little underrated. Even when you're doing easy throws, if you're really throwing all of them accurately, I think that deserves some credit, more than just being credit for. And also, I think even as some of these throws weren't so tough, it was raining. Like, that can affect a lot of quarterbacks.
Yeah,
it wasn't good weather.
That's why I wouldn't take anything
away from him. He was still delivering it where it should be. So, like, at a high rate, there wasn't a lot of, like, slip balls out or, when he did throw it downfield, which was very little, but when he did, it had zip on it. It got where it needed to go. Like, the weather wasn't really bothering him, but it was causing drops. So it's like, at the same time, are you really going to try for downfield plays when guys are dropping the ball all the time? Like,
yeah. No, it wasn't the game to try and push it. And like we said, coming into it, we were saying, okay, now Dillon's going to have a chance to let loose. But because the weather really wasn't the game to let loose. Yeah. It really wasn't.
And also, like, you can't really get into rhythm when the guys are dropping balls. When they're fumbling balls and, like, you're starting to get a decent playoff and then it goes away. Like,
the game didn't move the needle for me. Not for Kevin Stefanski and not for Dillon Gabriel.
It doesn't really move the needle.
It didn't, it didn't.
I was giving him C's. I was giving him a B because he didn't make a mistake.
Yeah,
so therefore I'm giving him B minus.
We were like,
but it's not like moving the needle, really.
The last few weeks we were like walking Kevin Stefanski closer and closer to the hot seat. I don't think that this like pulled it back, but it didn't move you
just put it
forward either. Just
put a
pause. It's just like, all right, just put that aside. Let's see what happens next week.
I mean, this might be maybe I just need to review some all 22 and get a better idea.
Yeah.
But so far with Dillon, like I'm getting this just massive incomplete rating feel. Like I don't feel like I know what's going on with him.
You know what I'm hearing a lot about for Dillon?
And what's interesting is like what's crazy though is just real quick. Yeah. He has enough capability, right? Like the interesting thing about in today's NFL is I feel like almost anyone, like not everyone, because some people just don't have physical abilities. They're just not very good. There are very little of them in the league. I think right now in the league, we are oversaturated with guys with plenty of physical ability that don't know how to play football or that just aren't at a high level. I feel like there's so much ability for all these guys. If you really are smart, like not kind of smart, but like really smart, and I mean football smart, okay? Some of these guys are smart, but they don't know how to read a play. They can't make decisions quickly enough. It's a different thing. I'm not saying you're dumb if you're not good at football, but that football IQ, if you're really good, like if even Dillon, like, if he got really good, I feel like a lot of these guys got really good, they would just be top 5 quarterbacks, top 10 at least. Mm-hmm. Because there's so many guys who just aren't good at diagnosing. They don't know what they're doing out there. There's so many of them. I feel like there are 40 quarterbacks probably in this league who could be top 10 in an instant if they got really good at processing. There's a lot of backups who are very physically talented. They just don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And like I'm saying I think it's more common than people are realizing, and it's more it's becoming about can you read tape.
A lot of people are definitely blaming college offenses for that.
I think they should
less pro ready and more.
I think they should
spread offense, simple concepts.
And interestingly, I do think that will lead to spring leagues end up creating affiliations with. If this continues,
I would love to see that. By the way, I actually think that would go a long way. I think towards improving that
100%. And I think that's what ended up happening. If this continues, if college continue to do this, they'll see a need for it. They'll want a place to develop offensive linemen and quarterbacks and all those guys, and they'll send them down there. And so I think they'll have some two-way deals. So you'll see guys like Lenore Sellers, for example, from South Carolina, super physically talented, but like very consistent, doesn't know what he's doing. Guys like Drew Aller might get more time down there.
Yeah.
So
whatever. He might have a whole another year of eligibility.
Oh, because of the injury.
Because of the injury, he can apply for the waiver.
Yeah, and he would. I mean, he should.
Probably. He should. Yeah, exactly.
It's been a pretty poor showing. He probably would transfer too, if I had to guess. Franklin being gone too.
Yeah, their whole next year's class. I think.
What if he goes to Oregon?
Declassified.
This is an Oregon
really
move,
funny,
right? Because Oregon loves that kind of thing.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, whatever. That's a discussion for a different day.
Yeah, definitely. But it was for Dillon Gabriel. Like I said, I thought it was fine. We'll see what he does next week, but I thought it was fine.
The one thing about Dillon that frustrates me is there's always one or two times in a game where he makes a really great throw. Like he had one in this game where he was rolling out, and maybe I overgrading a little bit because he was rolling to his left, but he's a lefty.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
He kind of throws you off, but he has this nice over. He's rolling out, and then he'll like zip it on the run, like 25, 30 yards on target. Really nice play, great velocity and accuracy. It just doesn't happen a lot, and I'm kind of curious. Like,
he did that
is
last
there
game,
somewhere to push?
Dropped.
Yeah, it's like, is there somewhere to push, or is it just like occasional flashes?
Well,
and
that's
like,
why
I feel like I'm just. It doesn't feel like I know. I don't feel like I know from watching these games.
I don't feel like people are really. I don't think enough Browns fans. I think they realize, they know that the receiving core isn't good, but I don't think enough Browns fans realize how trash this wide receiver room really is. This wide receiver room is an offensive breakingly bad receiver room. It is so horrible. There's just nobody out there. Like, usually you've got some talent. But when your number one guy is a drop machine, I think he leads the NFL in drops. And he doesn't have that many yards either, right?
He's not a Mike Evans anymore. Right? Like Mike Evans, he was doing the Mike Evans, where it's like drops, but also lots of production.
Right. You can handle that
Last
a little
year,
bit more. Jerry's not doing that right now.
What we're also missing is you're desperately missing Tillman, because he was the one guy who's reliable. Like, he's one guy that, hey, you put the ball on him, he catches it.
Yeah.
You need that guy. He's the only guy like that. For whatever reason, they don't even have another reliable slot.
And Fannin dropping the ball, and Njoku was out. Like, I just don't...
You need a slot. You need a reliable slot. Yeah. That's why the tight ends are getting the ball all the time. They're getting the ball all the time because you don't have a slot.
Yeah, I don't really...
Getting an okay slot is not that hard.
No, it's not. We should have kept Elijah Moore, honestly, because he wasn't a decent slot.
Like, why not?
But it's just been... The receiver room is just so terrible that I don't know how much I can really expect for Dillon Gabriel as far as, like, slinging the ball over the field. That's what we'd like to see. But I'm like, is that even possible with these receivers? When you see Joe Flacco toss for 300 yards, as soon as he gets some good receivers with him, right? I mean, basically no time to practice. I mean, I think he even said, I don't remember if he said this, if it was like hinted at, that basically he's like, he didn't even know what was going on half the time. He just knew that, like, wait 2 seconds and just toss it to Jamar or T. Higgins, basically. It was like, that was basically it for a lot of those plays. How much of the receiver room do you think is affecting Dillon Gabriel's play right now? Or do you feel like even if Dillon, let's say, never tops 250, we can still grade him? Or is it just feels like they're holding back the grades because, like, what can we expect from you? There's nothing there. There's no one to throw to. I don't want you to throw a ball into a tiny, tiny, tiny window. I want someone to be a little open and you hit them on the money. But they're barely even a little open.
Well, the problem is also they're all having drop issues, which is a trust issue, right? So, like, you want your quarterback to have some guys they can trust. Like Hollywood Higgins, right? He was not a good receiver, but he had good chemistry, and he caught the ball when it came to him, when he had his run. And so you could trust him. And that alone led to some decent amount of production. Surprising amount, considering how bad he is. But the point is, he did. He had Donovan Peoples-Jones. When he had chemistry, he was catching the ball. That's what he did. And you'll see guys like that that'll exist in this league. You don't have that right now, so that majorly affects it. I think the biggest sin to me from the Browns this year, so like, I don't always look at like, oh, they should have made this big move. But the biggest sin to me is not drafting Tez Johnson. The guy went in the 7th round, and he played for the quarterback you took in the 3rd. He was his number one target. You desperately needed receivers. You desperately needed someone reliable. You could have used a slot. Everybody knows Cedric was having injury issues. You really needed a decent guy. He's also very elusive, so he can make plays short and make guys miss. And he went in the 7th, and he was supposed to go in the 4th. Like,
the Browns are pretty bad at drafting receivers.
Grab that guy though, but like, right? But that's why I'm not even saying some random guy.
No, but that's
good.
like staring you in the face. Yeah,
right. It's your top guy. It's your guy. The guy you took in the 3rd round, and he's hit the. That's what makes it egregious. Like, it's not just like, oh, you missed a guy.
Yeah,
you missed a guy that had some hype. Like, people did think he should have gone in the 4th. They thought he was sneaky, and he was your guy. And when you look at draft boards, and when he's supposed to go in the 4th, right? 5th, 6th, and 7th is a different day. So you should be looking at guys right off the bat who should have been going earlier. So he should already be somewhere at the top of the list. At the top of the 6th round, you're not looking at me like, huh, he's still hanging. Like, how is that not staring you in the face? Like, that's the kind of like thing that really frustrates me. And but as far as it depends. Obviously, like, we have to see how it plays out. Like, sometimes you can grade anyway, and it's like, hey, he's just missing guys. And sometimes it's been frustrating. I feel like at some point we'll get a better view, but honestly,
I still feel like I'm waiting, and I feel like
I'm waiting to know.
A lot of Browns fans, I think, have already decided what his whole career is. They've decided he's a backup quarterback. They've decided he's a bridge quarterback. And the truth is, we don't have enough yet. And I'm not saying he's good. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying, like, we really don't have a whole lot yet. He hasn't really had the opportunity to do a whole lot, and he hasn't done a whole lot either. There's just not that much to see.
And I don't like when people go like, oh, here's his one miss. Because he had that rollout last week when he missed Judy.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, look, don't get me wrong. Like, it's perfectly fine to criticize that. But, like, that doesn't define him.
Yeah, why is it? I know.
But, like, guys have misses. And rookies certainly do.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Like, let's slow down a little bit.
Absolutely.
Whatever.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about our Brownie Points. Last week was an interesting week for the Brownie Points segment because we didn't give out any Brownie Points at all. It was just terrible, and we don't give them out for no reason. If you're a first-time listener, the Brownie Points segment is where we award brownie points to the standout players on offense and on defense. The more brownie points we give you, the better we thought you did. But we don't just give them out. As you saw last week, we didn't give out any because we didn't really feel like anyone did had that special of a game. This week, we both felt similarly that there weren't that many players who were extremely impressive. We did some disagreement. You have Quinshon Judkins at 2 brownie points. I did want to give him to 3. For me, I felt like, look, he had a couple huge runs. Yes, he had a lot of short runs, but to me, I don't detract that from his grade overall because it was because of the rain and because of the situation of the score in the game. They were expecting that, I think, and they really...
They were. For me, I'm looking at it different than you. You're looking at it as a detraction. I'm looking at it as in order to get 3, you have to have addition.
Yeah, I think they really stacked the line, and I felt like even when he had contact, he still was often able to push like another yard or 2 out of it, especially in that Wildcat touchdown drive where like he fumbled it at first. Defender came in, he just bounced right off him, spun right in for another 3-4 yards into the end zone. 3 touchdowns. Obviously, 2 of those touchdowns, were at, not at the goal line, but, in the red zone right there. But he still had to punch it in, and it was a Wildcat, so everybody knew he was going to run it. I felt like it was a 3. It wasn't a craziest 3. He had 80-something yards. It wasn't like some outrageous game. I think the 3 touchdowns might fool you a little bit on that one. But overall, I was very impressed. I do still want to give him 3 brownie points. Can you explain to me why you have him at 2, though, and not at 3? Because I think a lot of people are going to look at that stat line and say this guy had a 3 brownie point game.
I'm looking at it as like, typically in order to give you 3, you have to earn it to me. Like, it's not as much as like, oh, you're the best guy in the game, we can give you 3.
No, absolutely. I agree with that.
So, like, to me, like, there was too many short runs for me to give it to you. Like, it's not like a negative. It's just like, I needed a little more positive to get you there. Mm-hmm. Like, touchdowns alone don't really do it so much for me. Like, it's fine. Like, they're perfectly good. But
you could be handed the ball.
But that alone's not going to get you to 3. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there was a couple big runs, which I liked, but, like, there were too many short runs, and there was good reason for that. There was good reason with stacked boxes. But it was enough, and there wasn't enough big runs that I felt like I would give them 3. That's just what it's not enough positive in the sheet.
If like 4 or 5 of those 1-yard runs were actually more like 4 or 5-yard runs, then we're talking.
Then I would give them the 3. Yeah, like to me, it was like it's a dicey thing. I'm not like 3. I wouldn't give them 3, but it was like, but I just wouldn't happens to be. But I wouldn't. I'm not looking at weird. It's just not.
Yeah. For me, at 2 brownie points, I have Tyson Campbell. I thought Tyson Campbell had a really nice game. He had that insane chase down again. We've already talked about that earlier, so I'm not going to rehash it, but an incredible chase down of Achane I thought was really impressive. I thought he was good in coverage in general. Plus, he had, like I said, a couple, eye-popping plays that really showed off his incredible athleticism and what he brings to the table, what he brings to this offense. So I was really impressed with him. I think he was honestly probably closer to 1 brownie point, but I'm kind of bumping him a little bit up to 2. I think he was kind of in between, and I'm just kind of giving him the benefit. Moving him up at 2 brownie points. Obviously, your 2 brownie points is Quinshon Judkins. Who'd you have at 1?
It was Tyson Campbell. I also thought he had a good performance. I liked the pick 6. I liked him staying in bounds. But that's where I'm ending my day. And I feel like most everybody else had 1 or 2 big plays, but mostly 1. Like, there just wasn't a lot of guys having multiple plays. So I felt like Tyson Campbell and that's it. And everyone else just kind of like, they played pretty well as a unit, as plays came their way. But I didn't feel like anybody else was a standout. So I'm just giving it to Tyson as 1, and then that's it.
Yeah, I'm not actually giving out 1 brownie point. So we're
similar idea, just slightly different grades.
Like I said, I thought Tyson was in between. I could have given him 1, but I was like, I'm just going to bump him up to number 2. Because I kind of wanted to shout him out last week, because I did feel like he was okay, but so I'm kind of giving him a little bit of a boost this week. All right, let's do our preview segment. Browns are playing the Patriots. It got burned into my brain, by the way, like a week ago that they were playing the Steelers for some reason. I don't know why, but it got burned into my brain. And so I keep thinking the Steelers. I had to even look at my notes. It's like, no, they're playing the Patriots. 3 weeks ago when we talked about the stretch of games coming up, we talked about this being, potentially the highlight of the season. You know what I mean? Because we're like, the Patriots are not that good, the Dolphins are not that good, and the Dolphins are definitely true, but the Patriots, they're coming on. They had a pretty impressive victory versus the Jacksonville Jaguars, who were having quite a nice season up until, the last 2 games. Now, both of us thought the Jags were having a nice season up until the last 2 games.
Yeah.
But we both...
But you said the Patriots didn't play the Jags.
Didn't they?
This week?
Yeah.
No, they played the Titans.
Whoa, okay.
That was the Mike Vrabel revenge game.
Okay, whatever. Whoops. Anyways, the Patriots played a great game this past week, though. Yeah. I know they won by a lot.
They dominated. But keep in mind, they've had some few weak opponents. They had one. They started the streak with beating the Bills, so that's why everybody's hot on the streak. But the next 2 games were the Saints and the Titans.
Yeah.
But keep that in mind.
But the Browns, that's what the Browns are, though, to be fair, right?
It's not that it applies to the Browns. I'm talking about the league, not the Browns.
But, hey, the Patriots... You're going to say, don't be scared of the Patriots. They beat up on bad teams. We're a bad team.
And also, don't forget the Bills, they've struggled. They turned around and lost by 10 to the Falcons. A team that just lost to the super beat-up Niners and barely scored.
Yeah, that will be
But that's a whole
That'll
other
be
thing. But
interesting, for the
my point
Bills,
is, I think the Patriots are ascending, but I don't also think that they're dominant.
But I feel
But
like
that's a different discussion.
But I mean, I love Mike Vrabel as a coach. We both like Mike Vrabel.
Yeah, I
I
think
think
he's a
as
really
a
good
coach,
leader, yeah.
neither of us and most of the league didn't really understand how he got fired from the Titans and why they did that. And look what the Titans are; they would be doing so much better with him. But whatever. Anyways, just something I never understood. Mike Vrabel,
I'm
the
happy
Patriots.
for Vrabel.
No,
because they were never drafting a good quarterback, so I'm
Yeah.
glad he gets a chance to do something.
I think he got exactly what he was hoping for, and he's such a smart guy. I think just staying out that extra year and getting the perfect situation with the Patriots, an organization that he knows, he's familiar with, getting a quarterback. Drake May looks pretty good. You are concerned, I think, about
Yeah.
him versus this Browns defense, which I hate to say this, but the Browns defense is somewhat overrated. They're statistically pretty good. I do think they're a good defense. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sure.
they're not as dominant. As
I'm
some
not
people
so
think.
sure that they're a top 5 defense. I think they're probably more like somewhere between 8 and 11, which is still good. I think they're a good defense. I just think they're a little overrated. I wonder
Yeah.
about what the Patriots are going
They
to do.
had
to
one
them.
dominant performance this year.
Yeah,
The Packers were dominant, but
Yeah.
the most rest of the year they were good, but not great.
Yeah.
And the run defense needs improvement. Like
Yeah.
it's not terrible. It's just not that good either.
They had a couple. They did well the first couple weeks, but that's not unusual for the NFL for teams to do really well in the first couple weeks and then do terrible or do terrible at first
Yeah.
and then start picking it up after the first 3 or 4 games. That's not so uncommon, especially with one less preseason game and especially with a lot of teams. It's kind of been a bit of a trend to take the preseason less seriously. So I wonder if that has contributed to that. But the first couple games of the season are not who you really are. That's not uncommon for the first couple games to be fluky.
Yeah, some
And-
offensive linemen aren't in gear yet. They're not used to playing together.
and
so you get some
scheming.
easy slips. You get through on stunts and twists that you wouldn't
Uh-huh.
normally get through with.
I just wonder about that Browns run defense and the games where you thought they were going to, be a dominant force. They weren't, and that's a little concerning. So
And running backs that you thought that they would shut down. Like the Steelers game was really concerning to me because that feels like a run game.
That's what I'm talking
that's
about.
Like
Like, you
pretty good, but it's
expect
not
them to do
great.
well.
It's
That's
not
what
a
I'm
great
saying.
run game. And the clear and obvious game plan would be to make them throw a lot.
But they ran
and
over.
they still couldn't stop them. Yeah, that was concerning. That was,
literally,
like,
they
really
literally
concerning.
lowered their heads and ran over our defenders on multiple occasions.
And you just put a top 5 pick in that interior.
Yeah. So look, I'm concerned. Look, coming into this game against the Dolphins, right? You predicted a win. I predicted a loss. So I look like the idiot in this case, but which is good.
I think my prediction, but I think my prediction was 24-17.
24-17.
So
but we also didn't know about
the score was quite a bit off.
But you didn't know about the rain either. But either way, you were correct in that the Browns were better than the Dolphins, and the Browns were going to pull off that win. So I'm really happy to have been wrong about that one. Coming into this game, I hate to be negative Nancy, but I don't see a win. I don't see a win. I think the Browns are going to lose this game. What are you feeling?
I actually think that this is maybe the toughest game for the Browns, period. And the reason why is better teams can definitely be tougher to beat on some level where, like, if they're up to it, then you got no chance. Mm-hmm. And there are better teams in this league. But at the same time, you have a better chance, in my opinion, of beating a really good team than a good team in their first year being good. Because teams that are really good occasionally will just get trapped. Like, they don't pay enough attention, and they get taken off guard, and they just completely overlook you, and you get a chance. The thing about Vrabel and the Patriots, Vrabel, first of all, is a very good head coach, who's not a head coach because he's a brilliant play caller. He's a head coach because he gets your mindset right. Number 2 is this is their first good year. They had an awful year last year. They're not going to come in there and take games for granted. And Vrabel's smart enough and been around the league enough. He knows, I think, that his team is playing well, but not necessarily so confident that they're guaranteed a 13-win season or something like that. Mm-hmm. Like, I think he knows that, like, they've also played some teams. So he knows you got to take advantage when you're playing the Browns. That you cannot let up, and that you have to take it seriously and, like, play very hard because you can't afford to lose those games. When you're a team like the Patriots, kind of remind me of the Broncos last year. They were a pretty good team. They weren't dominant. They generally weren't being, like, really good teams, but they made sure to take care of business whenever they were playing teams that they could beat, and they knew it. Mm-hmm. So I think it's almost more dangerous because the mindset will be right from the Patriots.
Yeah.
Your opportunity comes from Ramondre Stevenson, the running back. He hasn't played that well this year, and he's really had a fumble issue. And so this is going to be a game of you have to play it well, from your perspective. Like, the defense has got to show up and play pretty well. Mm-hmm. They don't have a great run game, so there's that. Understand that they're generally not like a quick strike offense. Occasionally they are. I mean, Drake May's been really good on the deep ball when he's throwing deep, really good. But, like, typically they're not just, like, constantly, like, just throwing it deep all the time and just racking it up really quickly. But same time, Ramondre might give you opportunities, and they will rack up points over time. So this is basically a game where if you want to win it, defense has got to be playing one of their better games, and most importantly, this has to be an opportunity game. When you get an opportunity, you take advantage of them every time. Meaning, when you get a turnover,
the Browns had drives that just, instead of touchdowns, they got field goals.
Right, when you get a turnover at the 40-yard line, you need a touchdown.
Yeah.
You get a field goal, you're done.
Yeah, the Browns
You know
have had way too many plays where they'd get a turnover or get in some way get field position around the 50 or the 40, and they'd still somehow they're just squeeze in a field goal or not even get a field goal and have to punt.
You can't be doing that.
You can't be doing that against the
You
Patriots.
need to be getting first downs all the time.
Yeah.
Right? In other words, your defense can't be getting on the field there's a bunch of 3 and outs.
Yeah.
So like even when you're up, hypothetically if you're up, that kind of thing, or whatever it is, maybe you're not having the best drives in the world, but you got to be getting 2 first downs. You got to be stretching out a little bit, keeping your defense off the field for a little bit. You got to be consistent on offense in terms of keeping them on schedule, and then you have to capitalize when it matters.
Yeah.
But even so, I would say a loss. My prediction looking along the lines of 24-10.
Me, the Patriots. Okay, that is more dominant than I would have said. I had the Patriots scoring 27 points, so we're pretty close to what we think the Patriots will pull off. I'm giving the Browns a little bit more credit. I think the Patriots are going to win this game 27-20. But before we go there, just really quick right here. Just on a couple specific players. Quinton Jenkins, over or under 100 yards?
Under.
Same.
They're going to game plan for it. They're going to game plan for it.
I think we're looking at
and they're good enough defense that they can game plan for it.
I think we're looking at like a 70 to 90 yard game for him.
I think it's going to be 60-70. I don't. Yeah. It's not a problem with Judkin. I just think they're going to stick a lot of 8-man boxes. Likely
75, yeah.
And not only are they maybe not afraid of Dillon, but also not afraid of Kevin. Like I don't think they're worried that Kevin's going to trust Dillon enough to chuck it deep.
If we
and this receiving core, I mean, you kidding me? Between all that?
Yeah, I think they're not afraid that if we overcorrect on one area, that Kevin Stefanski is going to dial up a play action bomb right on us.
And even if they do, Judy probably will drop half of them.
I was going to say they're going to drop it anyway. Exactly. How about Dillon Gabriel, over under 200 yards?
Under.
Yeah.
I'm seeing like a $165, unless there's garbage. Okay, look, you could, if they get dominated, if it's like 27-0 or 27-3, and it's like fourth quarter, you might see some big garbage time yardage. But unless it goes something like that, which I don't think will happen,
yeah,
I suspect it'll be like a $170, $180. You'll get like 60, 65 yards out of Judkins, and that's mostly me. It's gonna be a lot of like plodding along.
That was my prediction. My prediction was 160 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 pick. I think this is the game.
I think they're too smart and too motivated for you to get a lot of opportunities.
I mean, they're a really well coached team. Like they're not going to be easy. We were hoping it would be, but they're not going to be.
And also, I mean, I will say, but Drake May's deep accuracy this year has been awesome. Like he has been dropping dimes.
Yeah, he's been a nice pickup. Wish we had him.
That'd be nice.
Anyways, we're gonna wrap it up there. Thank you for listening, and
we're wrong.
Yeah, well, hopefully
that should be our motto.
Yeah, I know, because we've been saying, I know every week we're predicting losses most of the time, and they're like, well, hopefully we were wrong. Usually we were right, unfortunately, but this past week I was wrong. But hopefully we'll be wrong again, and we will see you next week.
See you next week.